Well, to get a perspective on the state of intense discord, perhaps to put it lightly, in the PNP, we're joined this morning by PNP elder, a veteran politician and party stalwart, Queen's Counsel KD Knight. Good morning, Mr. Knight. Welcome again to the airwaves of Nationwide 90 FM. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Good morning. Let me start by expressing condolence to you. Because I read something in the paper.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Well,
Morning, Mr. Archer.
Morning, Senior Counsel. Thank you so much for joining us.
You, Mr. Knight, have dedicated much of your life to the betterment of the People's National Party, and by extension, Jamaica. I'm sure you'll submit. It must hurt you, the state of disarray in the party currently.
I would have preferred it to have been different, but you know, right now there appears to be a dark cloud, but overhanging the party. But if we think it through properly, there is a silver lining, you know, and it behooves us all to work toward getting to that silver lining. And it is certainly not impossible because, you know, I've seen this before. It's a matter, and what I understand these four comrades to be saying is that where they were in the leadership structure does not make them feel comfortable having regard to behaviors that they don't like. But what they have not done is to say we are moving away from the party. They have not said that. They have not indicated that at all. So I read something, one of the dispatches this morning saying, I think quoting Mr. Seaga, that they should, you know, sing a Sankey and find their way back home. They have left home, so they don't need to sing a Sankey. They are staying home. They are just moving to a different room.
You know, as you say that, Senior Counsel, raising the specter of leadership struggle, the structure, the method, the process, the whole concept of groups, do you think that the whole method and the level of organization of the party, structurally, that is what is part of the problem?
Let me tell you, it starts with the group structure. The group structure has been corrupted over many years, and despite, you know, protestations about how groups are formed and how they operate, the corrupt practices still exist. There are groups existing where they don't meet. They don't discuss anything about party politics, party programs or anything. Nothing like that. Some don't even know each other because they exist on paper only. But they are formed merely to, you know, vote. If there is some election in the party, they all turn up.
We ask that you hang on a moment, Mr. Knight. We take a break right here on Nationwide this morning.
Thank you so much for staying with us right here on Nationwide 90 FM. You're listening to This Morning. We're on the front page. I'm Daniel Archer.
And I'm Abka Fitz-Henley.
We're speaking to KD Knight, veteran politician. Some would look at him as the guardian, one of the guardians of the People's National Party. And you just said something there, Senior Counsel, about the group structure and how corrupt it is. If it is that within the party itself, corrupt measures are used to attain power, listeners listening to that will perhaps translate that into the general and the national elections and say, well, if you do it on a local level, we can't expect anything better or more from you on the national level to hearken on to these corrupt practices. What say you to that?
I don't equate the two.
Okay.
The situation is that at the national level, the arrangements are quite different. I don't believe that, persons who are not entitled to vote, there is any, widespread issue in relation to that. I don't. I do believe, however, that the system has been corrupted by the influence of money on the voter. I do believe that. As to whether it changes the outcome of an election, then that's to be seen. But it exists, and we cannot hide from that. I've seen videos of it.
You refer to the group structure in the PNP, Mr. Knight, and you question its integrity. But hasn't that structure been around for a long time, even when you were very much active in the politics? Has anything at all been done to change it?
No. I understand. The group structure, there's nothing wrong with having groups and delegates from groups to vote. What is wrong is pretending to have a group which exists only on paper. It does not exist in reality because it is not carrying out the functions of a group. It is not adhering to the constitutional provisions as to how groups ought to operate, and they are formed simply as, a part of a vote machine.
The move by Messrs. Paulwell, Crawford, McNeil, and Phillips to step away from the executive suddenly, yeah? How do you assess it? Is it good judgment, or you reckon it's an indictment on Mark Golding's leadership of the PNP?
It need not be an indictment on Mark Golding. There may be behavioral patterns that are not liked or accepted by the group. They may feel that Mr. Golding prefers to have around him only persons who supported him in the election. Now that's a bad thing.
That's a bad thing, you say?
Yes, terrible thing. To have persons who are simply going to agree with you, to behave like sycophants, is not good. I'll just give you an example. When I was a minister of government, I would tell civil servants when we're having a meeting, look here, don't come to tell me what you think I want to hear. That's not going to help me. That can't bring about change. That can't bring about progress. Tell me how you genuinely feel about a particular problem and try to persuade me if you find that my view is different. That's how you help me.
But Queen's Counsel.
So to have around you only persons who you feel will operate as yes men is not a good thing.
But Queen's Counsel, the fact...
If these gentlemen, these comrades feel that that is what is happening, then their ability to assist in growth and development and relevance of the party, that's affected. So what they must do now is find some other avenue where they can work and where their voices will be, of some weight, more so than being in the position that they hold. To be a vice president is a great thing, but it is not the be-all and end-all.
I therefore have to ask you though, Mr. Knight, is that your perception of Mr. Golding's approach to the position of president, where he only wants sycophants around him? And the larger question is, what's your assessment of Mark Golding's leadership of the PNP?
My perception is not deeply relevant on that, because I am not in the thick of things. They are. Do I find some faults with the leader's positions and approach and attitude? Of course I do. And when I do, I send him a WhatsApp or I call him and we talk. And I express very clearly, I don't agree with that. The final decision is his. But my voice must be heard because I'm a member of the party. I'm a member of the People's National Party. And one of the hallmarks of the People's National Party is that any person, any member, any delegate in any forum can express his or her view openly, freely, and it's either accepted or rejected.
Which is a point, Mr. Knight, because if it is that Mr. Golding surrounds himself with people he can trust, the mechanisms ought to be in place for him to hear from others. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he's surrounding himself only with yes men. Does he not have that right to support himself with people who he trusts and have faith in to either say yes or no to his plans?
You have faith in persons not necessarily because they were your supporters.
And you can have faith in persons who are your supporters to say no to you as well.
And you can have your faith in them to say no, but they don't. So that there has to be a mix. I have been in that situation personally. I didn't vote for Mr. Simpson Miller. I did not. But the moment she became the leader of the party, I accepted it because I voted for someone else who did not win. So I can't be supporting someone who did not win to be the party leader. And I gave her my full support. And the fact is that she would call me on certain issues. I would call her. There was a free exchange of ideas because the issue of trust, that you are not going to say something which you know ought not to have been said, but you do it from a point of view of wanting to embarrass the leader.
As we close out
so
the conversation,
you can have confidence in persons who did not vote for you. That's the system. That's how it works.
Yeah, on the other side of the argument, though, Mr. Knight, there's a view in the party that there's an effort to undermine the leadership of Mark Golding because there's a faction in the party who is insistent on foisting upon Mr. Golding, placing in powerful positions people who are very much opposed and actively opposed to his leadership of the party. In essence, putting Mr. Golding in a position where he's in office but not in power, despite his victory over Ms. Hannah last year. Do you find that view that there's an effort to undermine Mr. Golding credible?
No, I think it's a conspiracy theory. There is, well, Mr. Paul, for example, was very clear in the clip you played earlier. He's saying that he would step aside, step away from the party if Mr. Golding was challenged as leader. No, I know of nobody, and I have in my phone here a few thousand people. And let me tell you something. I have not heard, and I would hear, of anybody who is planning to challenge Mr. Golding. It's a figment of someone's imagination or some group's imagination. Nothing like that. It would be ridiculous.
Just before we go, Mr. Knight, You said there was a silver lining. Just before you go, you said there was a silver lining to all of this. What's that silver lining?
The silver lining is that we need persons to be who are well respected within the movement to be on the ground 24/7 almost. That's what we need. We need people to be talking the unity talk on the ground. We need persons who are on the ground talking about policy, talking about the provision of opportunities, talking about nation building, saying what the core values of the People's National Party, what those are, so that people will coalesce around ideas, policies, and programs. This is what we need. This is what I understand that these comrades are planning to do. They are going, instead of being in the hierarchy of the party, they are planning to go in the field, plow the field, and sow. If you don't sow, you're not entitled to reap.
Some people are of the view that what they intend to do is to go back into their constituencies and register groups to mount a challenge to Mr. Golding's leadership. But you say you're not picking that up though, Mr. Knight, so...
That's rubbish. That's stupidness.
Thank you for your time, KD Knight.
You can always believe that. But what is the sign? What is there? Paul says, I'm not challenging him. I don't believe he should be challenged. Michael Phillips has not said anything whatsoever that could remotely be interpreted as a desire to challenge. Wickham McNeil, challenge. Damon Crawford's day will come. It will come. But I don't believe this now.
I appreciate your perspective, KD Knight.
And I think he would be ill-advised, but he has never said anything from which one could reasonably conclude that that is his intent, and certainly that he is a part of the group that resigned can't be interpreted that they are in collusion. But people can have all kinds of different interpretations that are not based in reality.
KD Knight is a veteran member of the People's National Party and former government minister. Thank you much for your time, sir.